I'm Dean Newland, and welcome to Leadovation. Reimagine, facilitate, flourish. This podcast is dedicated to the art and science of innovative leadership. Through insightful interviews with industry experts, I bring you cutting-edge strategies and experiences of innovative leadership, helping you think differently, act strategically, and achieve remarkable results. Join me as I provide insights and tools that empower you to make smarter decisions, forge meaningful relationships. Welcome to Leadovation. What if the real reason you're overwhelmed isn't because you're doing too much, but because you're not doing the right things? Today's guest, Andrea Liebross, knows that story all too well. She's coached hundreds of entrepreneurs and leaders who found themselves stuck, not from lack of ambition, but from being buried in the grind, unable to step into the role they were meant for. Visionary, leader, CEO. In this energizing conversation, Andrea and I talk about what it truly means to show up like a CEO. We explore why joy, not hustle or fear, is the fuel for powerful leadership. How to shift from being the doer of everything to the leader of something bigger, and why scaling a business or a career is less about doing more and more about thinking differently. Andrea also shares her TRUST framework, an acronym that unlocks how big thinkers operate, and offers a compelling case why clarity is the antidote for chaos and how we must move from passive planning to massive action. So if you've ever felt stuck between who you are and what you want to become, this episode might just give you the mindset, the method, and the nudge you've been needing. This is Leadovation Podcast. I'm Dean Newland. Let's dive in. Andrea, it's great to have you on the show. I wanted to start off our conversation, if you will, about something that was on my mind, made me think of you as I was going through our hit the record button conversation. So I just had a conversation with somebody else. I've had 2 podcast interviews in one day, which is unusual,
Wow.
But nonetheless, yeah, I know.
Me
I got
too.
5 this week.
I did another one.
Oh, really?
This morning.
Okay.
Yes.
It's wild.
There you go.
It kind of comes and goes, when it rains, it pours. But
yeah,
the conversation we were talking about had to do with joy as a kind of an ultimate human experience that we all seek and want. I was also mentioning in this interview with this other person that I just was with a company down, California, and somebody had just come back from a mission in Africa. And she was talking about the people in which she was serving, education and building houses and so forth. People in our economic definitions would be object poor, She says, I've never seen more joy in my life than I've ever have. I mean, these people knew joy. And I thought that really stuck with me, and I keep thinking about it. And so then I was telling that story to this person that I just had this interview with, and we were talking about how like just the word joy and being able to tap into your joy is really infectious. I mean, people love being around people who are joyous. You want to hang out with them. So as I lead you into this question, what does it mean to show up like a CEO? So I know that's your space, your jam. You're good about leadership. You've got a lot of stuff that you've done. You've been published a lot. You've got a great podcast. What does the vibe of a really authentic CEO look and feel like?
This is a good question. Well, are they joyous? I think at the root of it, they really do like what they're doing. Okay. And I think if we kind of if we kind of unpack this a little bit, I think showing up as a CEO means that you're really owning the vision of the company. You're owning the vision of the organization. And if you own that and can convey that consistently, it should probably be pretty joyful. Because I don't think, and this is just really more of an opinion than anything else, I don't think that you can lead effectively from a place of anger. Right? So I
Hmm.
don't know. You could lead from a place of anger for a to a like up to a point. But if you're gonna kind of take it over the edge and make it better, you probably, I don't know, I'm just talking out loud here. Probably
No, it's
can't
okay.
be doing
Yeah.
it from a place of anger, I'm guessing. Um
But there are
and I
certainly CEOs we've seen that have been very much using anger, fear, retaliation
yes, yes.
as their piece of motivating people for greater performance.
True. You can, but I mean, we could argue that that can only go on for so long too. Like I don't think that can be your ongoing MO and have a company that's completely led by someone who is motivating out of fear and anger. I think I see so I work with a lot of small businesses, and what I see sometimes happen is they become angry or not joyous and fearful, all three of those things, if they step out of that visionary CEO role and start doing all the things in the business. So sometimes I talk about there's five roles in a business. There's the visionary, the leader, the manager, the implementer, and the doer. And CEOs, especially in businesses that are by definition small, sometimes they're doing all five things, right? They're going all the way down to
Mm-hmm.
the doer, right? Where they're kind of sweeping the floor and like they're leading the meeting, right? So it's the whole realm. And if you're doing all of those five roles or having your hand in all five of them, that gets very um that's not joyous, and you start to burn
Mm.
out and you start to really not show up as the person you want to show up as. Um, and so I see a lot of people questioning, is this really worth it? Should I even be staying in this game as business owner, founder, CEO? Because I feel like I just can't get that traction I want to get in business growth or scaling a business because I'm doing all the things. And that just feels like it weighs me down.
Yeah. And I know that we could probably ask AI some stats right away that says the core reason why businesses, small businesses fail within the first year, second year, third year, and so forth. Capitalization might be one of them. But to your point, I'm guessing
Yeah.
that this transition from being all things, I'm scrubbing toilets and I'm also going and putting on my suit and talking to people, is at some point exhausting,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you can't be good at everything.
No, you
You can
cannot
be
be good
good
at
at maybe
everything.
two or three things, but not seven or eight.
Correct.
So, how do you help the people that are business owners? I guess primarily women, but men as well, because I think there may be some ubiquitous um, lessons for us we can learn from each other.
Yep.
That says, how do we then scale a business if my core role as founder of a company is to be the visionary? And I've learned through the school of hard knocks how everything works. How do I start letting go and
Yeah.
empowering other people to take on the very thing that I know how to do better than them?
So I think there's a couple of things that have to happen here. Number one, you have got to shift from that doer to visionary by delegating, right? And I'm going to guess, even though I haven't listened to all 4 years of your podcast, you probably have some about delegating. With that topic might have come up a couple times, right?
Maybe.
A couple times. Okay. So you got to delegate. You've got to really lead with intention. And I think you have to have a big unapologetic yes to opportunities that create growth and then no to the rest. So I think you've got to really
Hmm.
be like, okay, yes to this opportunity. I'm going to go for it. There's always risk for that in that. And
Hmm.
then you've got to be able to say no to the rest. And I think when you say no to the rest, then you start to become more aligned with your time, money, energy. You're making decisions that support both the business goals and your personal values. And then therein lies some joy and profitability.
Yes.
Both of them.
I always thought that the lifespan of a manager to leader or entrepreneur to somebody who's scaling is that you have to say no more when you're more mature in your business, but when you're younger in your business, you're saying yes to everything just to keep
Yes.
the damn business going and the lights on. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to say yes to everything. Even those who are listening to this and they're not entrepreneurs, you don't have your own business. Think about your culture in your company that seems to indicate that you need to say yes to everything. At some point, that's going to hold you back. And
Mm-hmm.
at the higher up you go, you're probably saying no more than you are saying yes. I mean, yes for the right things, no for the right things too.
Right.
What do
And
you
I
think?
mean, in having like a plan, a business plan, or whatever kind of plan you're operating from, it's meaningless if you don't believe that you can follow through on it. Right. So if you're saying yes to something that you don't believe you can follow through on, then that's not going to lead to anything great, right? So there's also like, how do you step into your CEO nest, we'll call it. You've got to bridge that belief and the strategy, right? So there's got to be
Hmm.
kind of a link there between belief and strategy. And I think that joy comes from believing that you're capable and deserving of the success, not just hustling for it too, right? So can I do this? Do I have a strategy around how I'm going to do it? If there's those are two yeses, then go for it. But if you don't think you really can and you get to that CEO kind of level, then it's a no, right? Because you're just
Hmm.
going to kind of get yourself, I think, trapped in anger or not joy and probably kind of a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Andrea, there's these transitions that we have from employee doing well, work hard, say yes to most things, and at some point somebody taps us on the shoulder and go, Andrea, guess what? You're now going to be a
Yeah.
manager. You're now going to lead a
Mm-hmm.
team. And we use
Mm-hmm.
the word leadership and management very interchangeably. We're going to give you the leadership role to manage this team. What
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost is the difference in your mind between being a manager versus a leader?
So I think being a manager, this is interesting you said this because we just had a conversation in my house about this last
Oh,
night.
really? Well, I was
Yeah.
listening in.
Yeah. So my
That's
husband's
a
a
little creepy.
physician.
Sorry.
It's great. My husband's a physician, and they often promote nurses into these department manager roles. And then all of a
Yes.
sudden they're supposed to lead everybody,
Yes.
right? And no, not nothing putting them down, but like that's not their skill set. So
No.
we just
Yes.
had this conversation and he gets frustrated. So, side note, anyone who's listening that works for Ascension Healthcare. Um,
Yeah. Right.
right. So I think the difference between being a manager and a leader is, as a manager, you're responsible for that implementer and that doer. You're responsible for kind of holding the vision, we'll call it, for from the like that comes down from above, from the visionary and the leader, and making sure it's happening, right? It's
You're
happening.
operationalizing the vision.
Yep, you're operationalizing it, right? But
Okay.
the in the manager, I think if we got into the nuts and bolts of it, I think they're focusing more on tasks and processes. They're operating like in the present. They're kind of like the control center, right? They're measuring success, probably whether are things efficient, what's productivity, are we meeting deadlines, that kind of thing. But the leader is really focusing more on the vision and the people, and is thinking about the future. So I kind of have this concept that I use with my clients called future you.
Hmm.
Okay, so have you met future you? I'll ask them. Or what did future you have to say about that? And future you is someone that's a year or 3 years or 5 years ahead, who has reached, I'm putting it in air quotes, six or created success, whatever that means. And they can help you set the direction or strategy for what to do next, or for what growth looks like next. It's kind of like
Hmm.
future you can be a guide, future you can empower, future you can measure things by impact.
Hmm.
So I think the leader is really relying on the future you and focusing on vision and people, versus the manager is more on the tasks and processes in the day to day. So I think
Hmm.
if someone promotes you into that manager position and says, oh, good, now you're part of the leadership team. I
Are
mean,
you really? Yeah.
are you
Right.
really? Like, that's
Are you
like,
are you really part of? Because I think there's something to be said for what you're talking about. That language really has some incredible importance into how we behave.
mm-hmm.
I've never really become aware of this until just now talking to you, that when we are that individual contributor, the employee who of one doing their work, we do it well, and then we get the pat on the back to now lead to manage, really literally manage other people to do the same thing.
Yep.
And so the trip, the key uh, rite of passage is that new
Yep.
position, is that new
Yeah.
role, is the fact that now we have these people under you or under me, and now we're there. We've made it to the next step. But there's nothing similar moving from manager to leader. It
Uh-uh.
becomes this amorphous cloud, like, well, I'm kind of manager 4 times a week and I'm leader 2 times a week, but it happens at different times of the day, or might even happen in the same meeting where I have to be leader on this conversation but manager on this one. So it's really messy. And I think
It's
it's
super
hard for us to
messy.
have this conversation with people about what does it mean to be a leader, when really what we're thinking about is what does it mean to be a manager.
Correct. And like leaders, I would say, have to be somewhat innovative, right? And figure out how we're going to make this vision happen. So does a manager have to be innovative too? Like, this is where the,
Maybe, correct,
right?
maybe
Like,
not,
I don't know. Like,
or maybe so, depending upon how we
or maybe
define it.
so.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? So like this conversation I had last night, the example that came up was the manager who was new into the manager role is just following instructions, kind of like, hands up, like, I didn't don't shoot the messenger, I'm just
Yeah.
following what has come from above.
Right.
But what has come from above isn't really going to work in the day to day. And she
Yes.
knows this, actually, because guess what? She's been like the doer person. She's been even below the manager. So she kind of knows, like, in reality, this isn't happening. But so where is the line? And it does this really come, is that manager leader thing, is it really more about, I don't know if I want to simplify it down to confidence, but is it, if you're going to lead as a manager, do you have to take some initiative to bring things to people's attention to say, hey, I know you said this, and here's my suggestion on how it might work better. Like, I think there's the
Hmm.
little tweak.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, wouldn't it be nice to have that clean division
It'd be
of,
great.
I was a manager, now I'm a leader.
Right.
But in fact, you have to do both a lot of the time.
And
Yeah.
wouldn't it be great if we had sort of universal truths about,
Yeah.
you know, what does it mean to be chief of the department? What does it mean to be, like, it would be
Right.
so good.
Well, why there's so many, I mean, notwithstanding you have a great book, but there's a lot of books on leadership out there,
Oh,
it's,
right. So that's,
there's
I think,
thousands of them.
that's
It's
a
time to,
thing. That's a,
yeah.
so, so I have this framework for what is a big thinker. So the name of my podcast is She Thinks Big. The name of the book is She
Yes.
Thinks Big as well. So what is a big thinker? And I use TRUST as an acronym, TRUST, and each of the letters stands for something. Well, that last T in TRUST stands for taking massive action. And I
Hmm.
differentiate taking massive action from taking passive action, because passive action is reading all the books, is listening to all the podcasts. Like, so you're doing something, you're trying to figure this out. You're not just hanging, sitting in the back row twiddling your thumbs. Like, you feel like you're doing something, but is that really enough? Is that passive action enough of absorbing info, or do you have to really put it into true action, which I call massive action? So
That's a
that's a
great
differentiator.
distinction. I like
Yeah.
that. So what is the now I have to ask, what is the T? What is the
What do the
U?
other
What do the
letters
other
stand for?
letters
What do the letters
represent?
stand
Yeah.
for?
What do they
Right.
stand for?
So this actually falls right into our discussion. So the first T in trust, I say, stands for thought options. So if you're going to be a big thinker or be a leader or be anyone, but want to kind of grow and advance in your role, you have to really consider that you have thought options, meaning, well, you and I, before we pressed record, we were talking about Indianapolis, Indiana. That's where I
Mm-hmm.
live. Dean was just there. Okay. So you could have lots of thoughts about Indianapolis, Indiana. You could think it's in the middle of nowhere. It's flat. It's hot in the summer and cold in the winter. It's pretty boring. Okay. You could have all those thoughts. Or you could think, wow, this place is happening. There's so much going on downtown. There's
Mm-hmm.
like major sports happening. The Pacers lost. It was very sad, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
you've got thought options about how you want to think about any situation. And even last night in our discussion, I was kind of playing devil's advocate. And I said, as my husband was getting frustrated, I said, listen, she's only been in this role for like 3 months or something. Let's cut her a little slack. She's trying to figure it out. That's an option. He's
Mm-hmm.
choosing the option. This is so frustrating. I've been in this hospital for 30 years and they can't seem to get this thing right with the managers. Okay. So, like, thought options. Okay. So recognize you got thought
Choice.
options. That's the first
Mm-hmm.
choices. The R in trust stands for real problem. So there really isn't a problem. A lot of times we get stuck accessing that future thinking or becoming friends with future you or being a leader or being innovative because we see that there's a problem. And the good news here is that there's no problem. Usually the only problem has to do with you not wanting to experience some negativity or a negative feeling. You don't want to feel frustrated. You don't want to feel disappointed. You don't want to feel guilty. You don't want to feel discouraged. You don't want to feel, we could go on and on, right? So if something's getting in our way of taking that leap or the next step or putting ourselves out there, usually what's getting in our way is just our human nature to not want to experience some sort of negative feeling. I'm a big believer that we do something, or everything we do or don't do is because we want to feel a certain way or not feel a certain way, when it
Agreed. So what
really
is the
comes down to it.
real when you
There
say
is no real
real
problem.
prob?
There's no
So it's a
problem.
tongue-in-cheek phrase.
It's
There
tongue in
is no
cheek.
real
Yeah,
problem.
there is no real problem. Even when you think
So
about facts like we're gonna lose money. Okay, let's pretend it's like this. We're gonna lose if we
okay.
do this. We're gonna lose money. Okay,
Okay.
so we're gonna lose money. Now what? Right. Well,
But
now
wouldn't somebody call that a
the whole
problem?
the whole thing's going down. Okay, we lost money. Okay, so what are we gonna do? The next thing is like, well, we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna. It may not be great. The company might have to dissolve. Like, I mean, this is tongue in cheek, but we can
Okay.
figure pretty much anything out. Okay. Now I'm not going to say the outcome is going to be amazing, but you're smart. Dean, you're smart. You can figure pretty much anything out.
So
I
what I think
trust
you're
that.
saying is that by us focusing on problems, we bring more of it to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that if we even just change the language around the thing we're going through, whatever it might be,
Yep.
and not label it a problem,
Right.
we might be free of the baggage that the problem
You got it.
causes in us.
You got it. And if you think about like people
Hmm.
you would consider big thinkers or
Yeah.
innovative or great
Yeah.
leaders, right? They're willing to experience all of those feelings along the way, right?
So there's
They
a sense
didn't.
of vulnerability.
Yes.
It's
Yeah, we could
going
do a
to
whole
the shadow
podcast
side
about
if you need to.
vulnerability. Yeah,
Yeah.
we could do that. Yeah. So that's what the R stands for.
Okay. I think U
in
is the next
trust.
one, ladies and gentlemen.
You is if you are past that second grade spelling bee. I don't know what trust is, a second grade word, third grade word.
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure. Okay, U stands for uncertainty or unknown. And all big thinkers out there, they embrace the unknown, or the uncertainty. We don't know what's
Hmm.
going to happen tomorrow. We don't exactly know what the outcome of something is going to be, but we're willing to kind of ride it out. So big thinkers embrace that, no, that uncertainty or the unknown. So I think the best one way to frame this is, if you're someone that says, I think this is an awesome, great idea. I think yep, sounds good to me. I'm in. But let me just think about it for a day or two and I'll get back to you. Okay. So the I'm going to think about it, people, which I clearly like thinking, because I wouldn't be on here if I didn't. But um, what our brain's trying to do there is to just normalize the uncertainty or the unknown that may occur if we move forward or don't move forward or whatever it is. Like, we're trying to become comfortable with all of the
Sure.
possibilities, right? So big thinkers recognize that we're never going to know exactly what the outcome will be of anything, but we're willing to kind of to experience that.
So let me ask you something too. Before we get to the, well, I think we've already got the tea. You mentioned that
Yeah, we only got S
before, right?
left. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am going to make a statement. Tell me if I'm wrong. I can
Okay.
be a big thinker the way you're describing this. Um, that needs the pace and the amount of information coming to me to be it's smaller bits.
Mm-hmm.
If you give me everything all at once, I'm going to get overwhelmed, but I need it in
Mm-hmm.
smaller bits. My style is still a big thinker. I still have the big thinking capability, but don't
Yep.
give me all of it at once. I need to process this. If somebody else comes into the room and goes, "No, Dean, I like the fact that you're giving it to me all at once." We're still a big thinker. So do you account for different style preferences relative
Sure.
to how we process information, make decisions? And does it fit into your model, or is that something else?
No, I think it fits into the model, because I think it doesn't matter if you are someone that wants it all at once or if you want it in small increments. Um, I think what matters most is your willingness to continue to move forward.
Hmm.
Right. So you might be like,
Hmm.
okay, tell me what you do first. Okay. Uh-huh. Yep. Tell me what you're going to do second. Sure. I'm still in. Tell me what you're going to do third. That one I'm not so sure. Should we move forward on this idea, for example? Should we lead in that way? Should we move? So that has, you could be a big thinker and go that way, or you could be someone that says, give me the whole thing, the whole enchilada. I don't need it in different pieces and parts. And it, it doesn't matter. I guess my bottom line
Mm-hmm.
is there. I don't think it really matters. I think it's almost just um, your risk tolerance is a little, it factors in here a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So to that point, though, your focus, your book, your podcast is about this big thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got this nice model that beautifully falls into the acronym of trust. Um, it's obviously there because you see it's not there. You're
Yeah.
providing a framework to help people in organizations change to this way of approaching things, because what is currently happening doesn't seem to be working, right? It's an
Correct.
antidote. It's the
Yep. Yep.
it's the it's the it's the response to something else. So what is the something else? What do we seem to be struggled with? And is there a pattern that you see that your model seems to provide an answer to?
Yep. So the pattern I see is people staying or thinking small. If we want, right? So small is the antidote of big, right? And
Yeah,
what by that
very
I
good.
mean, yeah, by that I mean, we're relying really on, I don't know if you're familiar with the term motivational triad. So,
Mhm.
as humans, we are motivated by, we want things to be comfortable. We want things
Right.
to be efficient. We want safety. We want ease. right? So we want those things. And that's kind of goes back to, we'll call it like the caveman era, when,
Yep.
we wanted to stay in the cave because we might, if we left, you might get eaten by the bears, right?
Right.
So, okay. But living in 2025 at this time of recording, I mean, yes, there are still bears out there, but we don't need that level of defense anymore, right? There's enough things that we can figure out. Plus, we're not alone, right? So that last S in trust, or the only S in trust, which we didn't talk about, stands for securing support. So,
Mm.
like, who's on your team? Who's on your personal or literal board of directors? Who do you confide in? Who helps you make decisions? Right? We can operate more with, we can go further and faster with a support system around us. So I think we stay small when we try to do everything ourselves,
Hmm.
try to, avoid any discomfort or anything that might be difficult, or anything that maybe it's not so efficient at the start, right? That's where I see then people become frustrated. And actually, if we want to take it full circle, it is not very joyous, right? It's not very joyous in the long run. It may be comfortable because it's familiar, but the biggest joy is not going to come out of just staying small. That's
Got
my
it.
theory.
Good. Love it.
I mean, I could be
One
wrong,
of
but
No,
you know,
it's a good idea. I think you're onto something. It makes a lot of sense. It kind of makes me think about psychological safety. That we've heard
yes,
that phrase
yes,
talked a lot
yes,
about. That's not just in a self exploration of going to your areas of darkness, concern, what have you, but being able to create the psychological safety with other people, such that we can um, get onto the work that we need to get onto. We aren't the barrier in our big thinking. We've removed some of that. So, Andrea, I guess one of the things I think about and I talk to leaders about a lot. I was just talking to another healthcare setting just before we got on this call, and what I see that's missing is leaders or managers, whatever you want to call them, depending upon your definition, don't seem to have a point of view, don't seem to really understand where they're going. Maybe you call it your vision is the word that you might use, and that we're not communicating that in a way that brings people along. So what is your point of view, if you would, in the world in which we live right now? There's a lot going on. We could get into that. That's probably 2 or 3 podcasts just alone in that. But what is your point of view, your model, that's what we need, and we need it now more than ever, or are there other points of view that help us sort of make sense of all this? Because I do think that we want clarity, and if we can kind of say, this is why all this is happening, and this is what I need to do with it, I now know what to do. So it's sort of taking the micro into the macro. What's your
yeah.
sense when it comes to
It's
this
a
thing called leadership? What's your
when
point
it
of view
comes
about
to
what
this
we
thing.
need to do relative to the world in which we live?
I think clarity is power.
Hmm.
So, especially for CEOs and leaders and entrepreneurs, when the world feels chaotic or uncertain, and there are shifts in the economy, political changes, industry changes, even like personal life, like something's happening in your life, personal life transitions, like leaders get stuck in the overwhelm
Hmm.
and then become more reactive in their decision making. And I really believe that creating clarity about what's really going on, both internally and externally, is essential in order to lead effectively, to lead with passion. And you know that's I sometimes I say being honest is being kind if we're talking about interpersonal relationships. So I think they have to name name the reality. So instead of avoiding like hard truths or maybe the fact that they don't
Hmm.
know, right? Or getting swept up in the drama, you've got to really define the facts of a situation as you and sometimes we don't really know, right? But as far
Right.
as you know or what you can see from what I understand, okay? And then separating those facts from your thoughts, so to see the difference between what is happening versus the stories you're telling yourself about it, right? So
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent too of like, what are the facts versus what are your thoughts, and
Yeah. Or the
focusing
fiction.
on, yeah,
Yeah.
and focusing on what you can control. Okay. I mean, that sounds very cliche, but identify what can you influence? What can you just
Yeah.
let go of? And then making those decisions that you have to make as a leader from belief and not just fear. So when you're clear on what you value or what your vision is, decisions can feel lighter even when we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So I think clarity isn't just about information too. It's about kind of your mindset alignment and
Right.
understand what's happening and what you believe is possible. You can, when you do that, you can kind of step out of being reactive or waiting. You know, we're a lot of waiting going on, right? Waiting and be more intentional and create that level of leadership that you probably want.
I remember during COVID, we were having a conversation with our team, and the discussion was, do we just stop marketing for a while?
Yeah, like
Do we
right,
don't,
like
like,
yes,
let's just
that I'm
wait this
sure.
sucker out. It can't last forever. How long could it go? Right.
Yeah,
And I thought about that for like 2 seconds and went, no, we're going to keep moving forward. I don't know how this is going to, those were days when every time I talked to a CEO, I was thinking like, is this going to be the call where they
yeah,
say they're going to drop us?
yeah.
We ended up overall doing better than we had ever anticipated because we didn't have any travel expenses. So it all dropped to the bottom line, but it was a frightening time. But we said, nope, we're going to continue to do this. So I think what you're making me think about is we don't have to have it all figured out to be in action.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Like if you're married or in a relationship, you don't do that because you know exactly how to be a parent or how to
No,
be a husband or a wife or a
totally.
friend or a partner. You do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yep.
You do your business because you believe in something that's going to elevate you and other people. How you're going to do
Yes.
it, if you make the how contingent on the decision, then you may never do it.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's why I
Like during
think,
COVID, you probably, I mean, they need organizations needed your services more than ever, in a
right,
sense, right? So
exactly,
now we're just gonna like wait it out and see what happens in the world, and we're gonna
right.
stop doing what we
No,
no.
right, right. We have another, you were talking about your husband working for a healthcare system. I'm talking to another healthcare system that we're very much involved in. And like they just got back from their board of directors and said, no, we are going to go full steam ahead. Yes, Medicaid prices have gone down. We're
Yeah,
going to have to make up the difference. That's going to be a shortfall. But this is an opportunity for us to
right,
grow our footprint and to help more patients and help more communities because now things are a little cheaper. And we're not going to stop on our process. We're not going to stop on our vision, and we'll figure it out along the way. Not irresponsibly. We're not going to be stupid about it, but we're going to keep
right.
moving forward. And I thought, like, that's great. That's good leadership. That's vision. I really
That is great.
appreciate that. So, Andrea, tell me more about your show, your books, anything
Yep.
else that people should know about you. I love your backdrop, by the way. What is that? Is that like an office? I mean, it's so cute.
So
It's
it is
pink.
it's a
What is that?
I'm basically in a closet
You're in a
underneath.
closet?
I am. As that black thing is a door. It's underneath the where I'm in like the lowest level of my house. So there's the ceiling here is slanted, and I've got sound like things on the, what do you call them? Sound
Sound, yeah.
absorbing panels
Yeah.
on the walls.
Yeah.
And then this pink stuff is, I could change it to blue. I can change it to any color. That's
Oh,
just
is it
lights. There's
lighting?
like light all, yeah. So
Yeah.
we built this house a couple of years ago, and right after we moved in, I had to record my book for Audible. So
Yeah.
that was okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? So the producer guy is in New Mexico, and I'm in my computer, and I am trying to find a spot in this house where I had blankets and everything else up where I could record it with the quality sound, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I was missing the mark all over the place. And so finally, I just took my computer. I remember walking around with a laptop like this. Okay, now I'm in this closet. What do you think? He's
Yeah.
like,
How does
well,
this sound?
the closet has potential And he said, it probably just needs a few acoustic panels. So I got these panels, and they're laying on the ground for a while. So
It
now I
looks
have
good.
renovated the podcast room a year and a half later. So it wasn't makeshift, and now it's real. But I record my own, like when I'm recording my episodes, if I don't like where I am, or I don't want to do it, right? I don't want to come down here. So it needed a little facelift. And a couple months ago, I hired someone to give it a little facelift. So that's where I am. That's the backstory.
Well done. No, for those of you who listen to podcasts, and I have to say, you know this, Andrea, as well as I do, maybe more so. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Not just for you, but it's fun work, but for the people that support you.
Yes.
And make this happen. There's a lot of moving parts.
And
it's a great medium, though. It's a great way to have conversations like this.
It's a great way to meet new people too. So
totally.
Love it.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Actually, my wife, long story short, this is 2 years ago. I had a podcast with a gentleman, and he says, yeah, I live in England. And I said, where do you live in England? He goes, I'm going to live in the Cotswolds, and I went, you're kidding. We're going to be in the Cotswolds. He goes, well, come on by for a pint. So we ended up having dinner. My wife had her birthday. They made a cake for her. This is the guy that I met on our podcast interview. And this happens all the time. So I'm expecting you to come by, and we'll go hang out sometime.
Okay. All right. I love it.
So anyway, back to your book, back to how people can connect with you. LinkedIn, all that other stuff.
Yeah, all the things. So easiest way is if you go to Andrea's with an S, links.com, andreaslinks.com. And from that, you will find a link to my book, She Thinks Big. You can get it on any of your favorite booksellers. Link to the podcast. It's on every platform, She Thinks Big. I hang out on LinkedIn and Instagram for the most part. So there are links to those, as well as my website. There's a link to book a call. I welcome anyone who wants to chat about anything. And there also is a fun link to a quiz that kind of assesses where you are in this big thinking realm. So
very good.
Yep.
Well, thanks for your time, Andrea. It's been great to meet you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Leadervation with Dean Newlund. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to learn more about Dean or Mission Facilitators Leadership, go to mfileadership.com. That's mfileadership.com, or check the show notes. Reimagine, facilitate, flourish. Transform your leadership success with Leadervation.